Okay, hello to everybody. Today I'll be talking to you about complex numbers. So complex numbers is a very vast topic in maths, and I'm just going to talk about the very basics of the topic, and you can let me know what you think, as I'd like to go into some more in-depth videos on complex numbers. But for now, I'm just going to give you a basic understanding. So I is a complex number. Now I is the same as the square root of -1. So if we square root 4, we have the answer as 2, and also we have the answer as -2, because -2 times -2 gives 4, and 2 times 2 gives 4. So the answer is plus or minus 2. So it could be plus 2 or minus 2. But what happens when we have a negative number? What two numbers times together to give us negative? Because we know a positive times a negative, positive times negative gives you a negative, positive times positive gives you positive, and negative times negative gives you positive. So the only way to get a negative is by timesing a positive and a negative. However, these are two different numbers. For square roots, you have to have two of the same number. For example, 1 times 1 gives 1, 2 times 2 gives 4. You can't have plus 2 times -2 gives -4. That doesn't work. So rooting a negative number is a problem, and that's why we have this theory of I and complex numbers. So I is a complex number. Think of complex number as a different plane of numbers, where we have the axes. Usually we'd have y at the top and x on the horizontal, but for this I believe we have imaginary and real. I might have got these the wrong way around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is how it's done. You have imaginary on the vertical axis and real on the x-axis. Real numbers would be like 1, 2, 3. Imaginary numbers would put it in terms of I, so we'd have I, 2I. But because it's imaginary, you don't actually have to put the I down. Oops. So this is how complex numbers work. We're taking a different plane of numbers that exist, and we're using them to put them into normal mathematical equations. Let's just, I need to explain two concepts to you. We have the modulus and Argand. Okay, so these two words may seem complex at first, but if we break it down, we know that complex numbers are split into two things: a plus b I. All complex numbers can be broken down into this, where a is the real part and bi is the imaginary part. So let's say we have 2 plus 2i. Actually, that's not a good example. Let's do 3 plus 2i. 3 is the same as a, and b is the same as 2. Now, if we go back to what we had earlier on with the graph, let's go back to this graph. We have the real and the imaginary. So we know a goes on the x-axis and b goes on the y-axis. So let's go back to 3 plus 2i. We have 3 here, and then 2 here, and then 3 on the real axis. And that gives you 3 plus 2i. And then we can draw a line here, and that gives us, I believe this is called a half line. And then what the Argand is it's asking, what is this angle here? And we're going to call that z. So to work out z, we can use trigonometry, as we know that tan z equals opposite over adjacent. The opposite here is 2 and the adjacent is 3. So we have 2 over 3. So z equals arctan 2 over 3, which is, just give me a second, 36.7 degrees, 33.7 degrees. That's the argand. Now what the modulus is, this is much more simple. It's what is the, so if you don't know what modulus is, it's just imagine modulus a plus bi is the same as a squared plus b squared, all rooted. So we have 2 and 3, so 2 squared plus 3 squared rooted. And we know that 4 plus 9 is 13, and then our answer is root 13. There we go. So that's what modulus and argand is. It's relatively simple, it's just some tricky terminology. Oops. So argand can be written as arg z, and modulus can be written as modulus z. And modulus is the same as, if you don't know what modulus is, I can do a video on that if you want to know what that is, but it's basically when you times a number to make it positive. So the modulus of 1 is 1, and the modulus of minus 1 is 1. The modulus of minus 2 is 2. The modulus of 2 is 2. So pretty much the modulus of any negative number gives what the positive equivalent is. So modulus is just a very simple concept. So you have the modulus and the argand, and yeah, complex numbers can, they can become more complex. There's loads more things that you can add on to them, make them really interesting. But I just thought I'd give you a basic understanding. And you've probably seen this equation somewhere: e to the I pi plus 1 equals 0. Now this is one of the most famous equations in maths. If we can break this down, we have e, which is Euler's number. Then we have I, which is root minus 1 times pi, and then plus 1 equals 0. I can break down this equation in a further video, but this is complex numbers. This is like a very difficult complex number equation thing. So I'll see to that in a future video. So I hope you enjoyed this introduction to complex numbers. Next video, I'm going to be talking about de Moivre's theorem and what we can derive from that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, maths is the way.